Que se vea más gente acá de este lado. Que nos veamos todos. ¡Que no almorzaron! ¡No tienen coraje! ¡Sí! Vamos a gritar entonces, desquítenlo. ¿Sí se puede? ¡Sí! ¡Sí! ¡Sí se puede! 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 ¡Unidos jamás será vencido! ¡Morocojo! ¡Unidos jamás será vencido! ¡Morocojo! ¡Unidos jamás será vencido! ¡Morocojo! ¡Unidos jamás será vencido! ¡Familias unidas jamás serán vencidas! ¡Familias unidas jamás serán vencidas!
¿Qué queremos? Justicia. ¿Qué queremos?
¡Justicia!
¿Cuándo?
¡Ahora!
¿Qué queremos?
¡Justicia!
¿Cuándo?
¡Ahora!
¿Qué queremos?
¡Justicia!
¿Cuándo?
¡Ahora!
¿Qué queremos?
¡No perpetuidad!
¿Qué queremos?
¡No perpetuidad! 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 Ya cuando vayamos a entrar, yo con los catalanes hacemos un ¡sí se puede! 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 ¿Qué queremos? ¡No perpetuidad! 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 ¡Acá no perpetuidad! ¡No perpetuidad! ¡No perpetuidad! ¿Qué queremos? ¡Justicia! ¿Cuándo? ¡Ahora! ¿Qué queremos? ¡Justicia! ¿Cuándo? ¡Ahora! ¡No perpetuidad! ¡No perpetuidad! ¡No perpetuidad! ¡No perpetuidad! ¡No perpetuidad! ¡No perpetuidad! ¿Qué queremos? ¡Justicia! ¿Cuándo?
No se me cansen, no se me cansen. Sigan.
¿Qué queremos? ¡Justicia! ¡No perpetuidad! 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 ¡No perpetuidad!
Calendar. Item number 6A, this is an appeal of a Monterey County coastal permit decision. We did distribute an addendum earlier, so you have that available. I'd also like to introduce Kevin Kahn, the district supervisor for the Central Coast office, who's going to give our staff presentation.
Good morning, Chairs, Turnbull Sanders, and Commissioners. Item 6A is an appeal of a Monterey County decision allowing for the subdivision of 2 parcels totaling 33.5 acres into 76 lots, as well as construction of 80 residences, 17,000 square feet of commercial space, 9.7 acres of land to be used for future parks and recreation development and open space, and private roads and related improvements. The project is located in the unincorporated community of Los Lomas in North Monterey County. Los Lomas is a small, rural, mostly residential community surrounded by North County's characteristic rolling hills consisting of open space, agriculture, and low-density residential development. Staff believes that the approved project is inconsistent with the LCP's water supply and groundwater resources policies because the residential development that the subdivision would provide for cannot be served by an identifiable, available, and long-term water supply. This is because the underlying groundwater basin from which the project is slated to receive water is already overdrafted and extracted at a level that exceeds its LCP required safe yield amount, and the LCP does not allow for subdivision approval in such a case. Furthermore, the LCP finds residential subdivision to be the lowest priority land use to receive water when supplies are scarce. For these reasons, as well as other LCP conformance issues in regards to agriculture, ESHA, public views, and traffic, we recommend that the Commission find that the appeal raises a substantial issue and take jurisdiction over the coastal permit application for the project. Because staff is recommending substantial issue, unless 3 or more commissioners would like to debate the substantial issue determination, SI will be found. While we have been coordinating with the applicant and we're planning on having a de novo review today, including because this is a local hearing and we went to the extraordinary effort to provide translation services, the applicant just this morning has exercised their one right of automatic postponement. So if SI is found, the de novo hearing will be held at a future hearing and will not be heard today. So the question to the Commission today is whether 3 or more of you would like to hold a substantial issue hearing. This concludes our presentation.
On a procedural matter, I'm going to recognize Commissioner Vargas.
Yes, thank you. And I don't know if it's procedural or not, but just a quick comment. Because we're here locally, and this is, I understand the applicant's right to postpone, but clearly a substantial amount of the community has come out to speak. I'm hoping I can entertain a hearing on substantial issues, just so that we have an opportunity to discuss and allow public comments. So I just want to let you know that I will be putting raising my hand up to have a hearing on substantial issue.
Again, on procedure, I'm going to recognize Commissioner Padilla.
I would echo the comments of Commissioner Vargas, and at the appropriate time I have the next part I can put into the record.
Thank you. I'm recognizing Mr. Ainsworth.
I just want to make some observations. I am extremely disappointed to hear of this postponement at this time. Given that we went to extraordinary efforts to arrange for translation services scheduled in this area, to hear from the residents who are so interested there's intense interest in this project, and it's really disappointing to hear this at the very last minute after all that we've done to bring this forward. So I just wanted to express those thoughts.
Thank you. Do we have ex partes? Commissioner Padilla?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last evening, I had a meeting with Susan McCabe, the McCabe Company at 7902 Moss Landing Road.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Commissioner Padilla. Our general counsel would like to speak, so I'm going to allow an interruption in this extraordinary case. Thank you.
Staff has not yet done its presentation regarding substantial issue, so normally we would have staff make its substantial issue presentation and then the commissioners could disclose the ex partes and then have public comment after that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So do 3 or more commissioners want to have a hearing on substantial issue by show of hands? I see that we do have a sufficient number of commissioners wanting to have a hearing on substantial issue, and so therefore I'll turn it back over to staff to make their presentation.
Can we turn to slide 16, please? The proposed project, the approved project is located in the unincorporated Los Lomas area of North Monterey County. As I described earlier, North County is a predominantly rural area of agriculture, oak woodland, and chaparral, low-density residential development, as well as Elkhorn Slough, one of the largest coastal estuaries in California. The site is noted on slide 16 by the red circle to the right in this image. Slide 17. Slide 17 zooms in on the last aerial and shows the project site circled in red. To the west, or left in this slide, is the community of Los Lomas, with agricultural land and open space essentially surrounding the rest of the site otherwise. Next slide. On slide 18, you can see a more zoomed in photo of the project site's 33.5 acres. The western half on the left is undeveloped, mature oak woodland, and the eastern half to the right contains an existing agricultural row crop operation, currently producing strawberries. In the middle of the site, you can see the existing barns, 2 detached homes and mobile homes, and other related agricultural development associated with existing and ongoing site uses. As you can see on slide 18, only a small portion of the site is committed to hardscape and structures, currently. Also note that Sill Rd is to the north, or to the top of the slide, and Hall Road is to the south, or bottom of the slide, framing the site. Next slide. Slide 19 shows the oak woodland portion of the site as seen from Sill Rd on the site's northern boundary, looking south. As approved by the county, this area would be subdivided and built with residences. Next slide. Slide 20 shows another view of the existing mature oak woodland area and gives a good sense of the undeveloped nature of this half of the site. Next slide. And slide 21 shows another view of the mature oak woodland area from Sill Rd looking south. Next slide. Slide 22 gives you a sense of the existing and ongoing agricultural operation on the eastern half of the site. In this image, you see the site's strawberry fields and agricultural operations looking north from Hall Road, which forms the site's southern boundary. This also gives you a perspective on the sloping nature of the site, sloping up and away from Hall Road to higher elevations in the north, nearer Sill Rd, a change in elevation of some 60 feet. Next slide. And slide 23 shows one last site photo, as seen from Hall Road, looking back to the north and west. In this photo, you can see the strawberry fields in the foreground, and you can see the oak woodland portion of the site. You can also see the site topography extending to higher elevations, where you see the mature oak woodland in this photo. Again, almost all of the site would be subdivided for residential and future park use. Next slide. This slide shows the county-approved site plan. As I previously described, the county approved a coastal permit for the subdivision of the site's 33.5 acres into 76 lots, as well as construction of 80 residences, 17,000 square feet of commercial space, and 9.7 acres of land to be used for future parks and recreation development and open space, and private roads and related improvements. Next slide. 2 appeals were filed with the Commission, contending that the county-approved project is inconsistent with the LCP's water supply and groundwater resources policies. The appellants contend that the approved project cannot be served by an identifiable, available, and long-term water supply, including because the underlying groundwater basin from which the project is slated to receive water is already overdrafted and extracted at a level that exceeds LCP required safe yield amount. The appellants contend the approval raises substantial issues with LCP policies that dictate residential subdivision to be the lowest priority land use to receive water when supplies are scarce. And finally, the appellants contend the project raises a series of other LCP conformity issues with respect to the residential conversion of existing agricultural land and oak woodland, visual resources, and traffic. Next slide. This slide shows the North County groundwater basins and subbasins. The approved project is located within the Highlands North subbasin of the Pajaro Valley groundwater basin, as shown with a star. Please note the red numbers, which show the overdraft for each subbasin in acre-feet per year. These numbers are from the North Monterey County Comprehensive Water Resources Management Plan and show the entire North County area to have an overdraft of 16,340 acre-feet per year. Next slide. As you can see, North County suffers from severe groundwater overdraft, and local groundwater is the area's primary water source. The LCP requires all development to be served by an identifiable, available, and long-term supply, and prohibits new development, particularly residential subdivisions, if the groundwater basin is overdrafted. Next slide. As described earlier, the county-approved project authorizes subdivision to allow for 80 residences and other development demanding water from the severely overdrafted groundwater basin. The project thus raises significant consistency questions with LCP policies requiring development to be served by the safe yield extraction levels of the groundwater basin. The project also raises a series of significant issues with respect to LCP policies protecting agricultural soils, oak woodland ESHA, visual resources, and traffic. As such, and as described in detail in the staff report, staff recommends that the Commission find a substantial LCP conformance issue exists with respect to the county's approval, and that the Commission take jurisdiction of the CDP. The motion and resolution are on page 7 of the staff report, and this concludes staff's substantial issue presentation.
We will now have ex partes. Commissioner Padilla.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Last evening, I met with Susan McCabe of McCabe & Company at 7902 Moss Landing Road in Moss Landing, where I was introduced to Mr. Chuck Allen and Mr. Mark Blum from Heritage Western Communities on this project and item, and also Mr. Jeff Dunn. There was a very brief overview of the contents of the staff report on this appeal, and specifically to the staff analysis on the LCP standard dealing with the safe yield standard and the scarcity of supply standards in the LCP, and articulated their disagreement with the interpretation by staff of that standard, and further indicated should this be reviewed de novo that they would be likely asserting their right to request a continuance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Broom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On November 10th, 2016, I went with Supervisor Phillips from Monterey County, Carl Holm, who was the Community Resources Management Director, and Jesus Corona. We met at the site and we looked at the site of the prospective development, and I was explaining to them that this was would provide a community in terms of safe streets, recreation, preserving open space, and the willows located on the property. They indicated there had been a reduction in the amount of homes to accommodate the reduction of the water that would have to be supplied.
Thank you. Commissioner Heston or Schallenberger, do you have ex partes? The ex partes down here. Commissioner Vargas?
Yes, thank you.
First, I was party to the ex parte meeting that Commissioner Padilla was at as well yesterday, and I think Commissioner Padilla covered and articulated the substance and the details of that conversation perfectly and adequately. In addition to that, I also toured the site on May 6th, 2017 with Monterey County Supervisor David Phillips. We toured the Rancho Los Robles site and discussed the community benefits to the project, and the supervisor indicated that the project would bring much needed affordable housing and community amenities in the area, and that the project did have, in fact, an adequate source of water for the public.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Molly Erickson, attorney on behalf of friends, artists, and neighbors of Elkhorn and Slough. I will be taking the 5 minutes. Thank you for that, just for the interest of efficiency and time. First slide, please. Friends, artists, and neighbors of Elkhorn and Slough are committed to enhancing and preserving the Elkhorn Slough, its watershed, and the surrounding Monterey County area. This project site specifically drains directly into the Carneros Creek, which provides 75% of freshwater supply for Elkhorn Slough. Next slide, please. This map shows the project site and the proximity to Carneros Creek, which again is 75% of the freshwater supply for Elkhorn Slough. You can see how close it is, and you can see how much it would be impacting. The primary impact today, next slide please, is the water supply problem. North Monterey County is severely overdrafted. This commission, in the last 6 or 7 months, has denied 3 residential subdivisions in North Monterey County because of the lack of water supply, of the severely overdrafted nature of the water supply. In November 2016, the commission unanimously denied the Sunridge 10-lot residential subdivision extension due to lack of sustainable water supply. This is all based on the LCP policies that say there must be an adequate water supply before new development is approved. And certainly, new development like this, which is low priority in the coastal zone and in the LCP, which would replace open space and agricultural uses, which are higher. That was the first Sunridge, November 2016. January 2017, this commission unanimously denied the Rancho Roberto 27-lot residential subdivision due to lack of sustainable water supply in North County. March 2017, same thing. The commission unanimously denied the Mayor 2-lot residential subdivision due to lack of sustainable water supply. Even the expansion of a single lot is prohibited in North County in the coastal zone. Why? Because of the lack of adequate water supply for existing uses, for existing agricultural uses, for existing coastal dependent uses. This project has the same LCP policies that apply to it. It's located in the same critically overdrafted basin and has the same water problems. This is definitely a substantial issue that merits this commission's review and analysis. This is a huge problem. It has other issues, but we're focusing on the water issues because there is no question that the commission in these other cases has not only found a substantial issue, but then also denied those 3 projects. This subdivision project is even larger than those 3 other projects all put together. It has more units. So there is absolutely no question that there are substantial issues as to this project and this appeal that the commission should take notice. Next slide, please. The fundamental issue is LCP compliance. This project does not comply. LUP policy 2.5.1 says, new development shall be controlled to a level that can be served by identifiable, available, long-term water supplies. Those do not exist in North County and certainly not in the North Highlands area where this project is proposed. LUP policy 2.5.2.3 prohibits existing water supplies from being committed beyond their safe term yields. But that's what we have. We have an existing water supply that is committed far beyond its safe long-term yield. And the most recent information we have is more than a decade out of date. And it hasn't gotten better. In fact, it has gotten worse. As one example, there's been no improvement for the Pajaro and the Salinas Valley. If what you have at your table is this handout, I'm holding it up to my right, and you each have a paper copy of this new map before you. I say new because it was released for the first time Tuesday afternoon, less than 3 days ago, to the Monterey County Board of Supervisors. This map shows the seawater intrusion that's taken place in the Salinas Valley Basin. And this is the most recent map. The very large purple intrusion is just the seawater intrusion that has been identified in the last 2 years. There's been a huge increase in seawater intrusion that shows you that whatever Monterey County is doing to prevent overdraft and to prevent seawater intrusion is not working. I thank you very much, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark Blum on behalf of the applicant. The applicant has been working with the Los Lomas community to revise this project in response to community needs. And what we intend to do when we come back for de novo is to bring in a revised project to you. And I would like to defer my time today to the members of the community of Los Lomas who've taken time off work, come in from the fields to be here and to speak to this. So I will defer all of my time to Jesus Corona.
Again, my name is Jesus Corona, and I live in the Lomas area where this project is proposed to take place. Thank you for letting me be here again. We're a group that came to this meeting thinking that we're going to have time to speak. I would like to thank all the group that were coming for the area where the project is proposed to be. I was listening to the previous speaker speaking about this project, and I want to say that we live there, and we need this kind of project because of our need in our community. We have a long list of needs, and this project will comply with most of them. And I would like to ask all the people from the Lomas who didn't go to work and decided to come over here because this is a very important issue. I would like everybody to stand up and at least come over here and say their names. This is the people that we live there. Everybody standing there are living there for 40 years, 25 years. And this project is basically something that will provide a recreation area for our community. We've been a forgotten community for the last 35 years or 40 years. We don't have any place to walk. We don't have any place to do exercise. We don't have any place for our kids to do sports. And we talked to the community, to the county about it, and they help us with the street lighting. But we still have a big list of issues. And we were opposed to this project in the beginning because they were proposing to build close to 100 houses. And we say no because we don't have sidewalks, we don't have a recreation area, we don't have a library, we don't have nothing in this area. And then we talked to the county and they say that we have no money to help with these issues. We're the only community that doesn't have the very basic needs in this area. We get together with the owner. We give him the list of issues that we have, and he proposed to reduce the number of houses to 52 instead of close to 100. He proposed to donate 17 acres to the community to have finally a park for our community, to have 2 soccer fields, to have 2 basketball courses and a walking trail. And also he proposed to donate a house for us to use like a library for our community. So that's why we're in full support of this project, because we do have a very basic needs that we don't see nothing of this happen in the next 20 years that the county says to us. We're the only place, Pajaro, they have their own park. Watsonville, they have a 5 or 6 community parks. Everybody else except us. We have a lot of seniors that need to walk. And we already have people got killed by a car running over them because we don't have sidewalks. We have to drive everywhere to take one of our kids to play, to do any sports. And I would like at least you want to come to say your name. We still have 1.5 minutes. Can you come and say your name, please? And then you have a little bit of Lomas.
Tengo viviendo en la área de los Lomas por 43 años y me parece justo que se aprobara este proyecto que tanto hemos venido pidiendo para la comunidad de nosotros. Gracias.
My name is Armando Lopez. I am here to support the project. I would wish that you would approve this project. It's very, very important for us. An area of recreational use for our kids, for our grandkids.
Thank you for this time. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Maria Rivera, and I am a resident of Las Lomas. I have been living there for over 25 years, and I am in favor of this project. I would love to see this project come to pass because I have children, I have grandchildren, and I have great-grandchildren that they would benefit, the whole community would benefit from this project. The kids need somewhere to go, somewhere to release their energy. They need basketball. They need to get away from computers, get away from in-home projects, and get out and do some activities for the mental, physical, and emotional state. I am a cancer survivor. I just finished chemo 2 months ago, and I have found myself needing somewhere to go and exercise. As I was driving in today, I saw the sign out there that said, fresh air, fresh thinking. And that is so true. You know, we all need fresh air, fresh thinking to do activities outside the home. I now, because we don't have anywhere to do activities for the seniors, I need to go on the other side of Park Bridge and do those activities. So I just want to reiterate that and thank you for your time.
Hello, you know, unfortunately, I've been advised by council, we added additional time for translation. Under a substantial issue hearing, the applicant and the appellant are only entitled to 5 minutes. And so unfortunately, we are going to have to cut off testimony after this final speaker so that we are in compliance with that 5-minute limit.
Can we say our names?
You know, as an alternative, I think what might be acceptable is if you have a, if you can collect the names and have a sheet of paper where you have everyone sign their names and it will be entered into the record. Thank you very much for cooperating with our process. I know this is a little bit unusual. At this time, we have an opportunity to hear from those who testified at the proceedings at the lower level, and I am going to request specific advice from our general counsel as to how to proceed, as we have a number of speaker cards and the public would need to know why we cannot hear all of those speakers and who is entitled to speak at this time.
Thank you, Vice Chair Trimble-Sanders. Under the Commission's regulations, the people eligible to speak during an appeal, during a hearing on whether or not an appeal raises a substantial issue, are the appellants, the applicants, the local government, and people who either spoke or wrote comments in opposition to the project when it was at the local level. At this point, the local government representative could speak, and people who opposed the project when it was before the county and expressed their opposition to the county are eligible to speak. And the chair has discretion in terms of establishing the time limit on that.
Thank you. So the two Sorry.
And maybe also just to clarify, the testimony should be limited to the issue of whether or not the appeal raised a substantial issue. And people should understand the statute creates an assumption that appeals do raise a substantial issue.
Thank you. I'm John Phillips, supervisor for the 2nd District where this area is. I want to recognize Supervisor Alejo, who's here, who knows that that's not his area, but he knows that area very well. But if you look at this location and the description of the project that's in the report, you don't recognize it. I mean, from the staff report. This is an infill project right in the middle of a disadvantaged community. It's on a degraded piece of property, and when you look at the property, you see that the community really needs this project, and it was nice enough for 2 of your commissioners to come out and actually see the property and see what it would do to pull together for the entire community. When you look at the highest priority in Monterey County right now is affordable housing for our workforce, all our workforce, and this is something we really need. Agriculture is our primary area, but our agriculture is going unpicked, 10% of it, because we don't have enough housing. And when you talk about water, the big issue, the only issue I can see is water that's raised. I mean, they did the traffic analysis. There's no more traffic coming off of Hall Road. He's agreeing to put in sidewalks for the kids to get to school. They're putting in a traffic signal so the traffic is minimized. And when you look at the water and when you look at the use of that water, what it's being used for right now, you take the ag usage and you take what's used on the residents, and there's a positive water balance of 13.76 acre feet. And when you consider the sewerage that they will be going into, that sewer will run into the Watsonville plant that recycles it and goes out to Springfield Terrace. It helps our ag water. And so with everything that's being done here, I'm not going to take up the rest of the time, with everything that's being done here, all that's being presented to the community of this project, and I'll tell you, it's mentioned in the report that there's another way that they'll be able to get this park possibly. There is no other way that's going to happen without this project coming and being part of the community. And this developer has been part of this community his whole life and has worked with this community to put together this project. Mr. Swanson.
Good morning, Commissioners and staff. I'll make it very brief. My name is Brandon Swanson, Monterey County Resource Management Agency Planning Services Manager, here on behalf of the Resource Management Agency, or RMA, in support of the project. Just briefly, the RMA respectfully disagrees with some of the staff's interpretations of the land use policies in the staff report. I'll echo some of the things that the supervisor just said, the water being the biggest issue. There was a max set by the LCP establishing 50% of the potential build-out of safe yield for the first phase of new development. That's land use policy section 2.5.3.8.2. The max was set at 2,043 units. The project would bring this total to 1,443, with approximately 600 remaining, or 30% of the threshold left. The project also provided studies with mathematical conclusions that backed up a net water reduction. Staff report shows that states that there will be overconsumption, but this is just a statement not backed up by any reports. We urge you to look at the reports and the math that was included with that. Lastly, or one more point, the location and the zoning is actually medium density residential. It's characterized in the staff report as a rural agricultural area. This is effectively the infill project right next to the community of Los Lomas. It's sorely needed. Quick note on the trees and the ESHA. The staff report asserts that the LCP requires no removal of trees, when in fact the LCP allows for a coastal development permit to be given that assesses and evaluates the project with the design in respect to how many trees are being taken out. This project actually only removes 25 of 138 trees as approved by the county, which minimizes the impact. Most of those removed due to infrastructure, which would be required for any reasonable development. with that, I'll wrap up and just say thank you for your time and lend our support again for the project.
Madam Chairperson, Gary Patton, I'm here representing Landwatch Monterey County, a group of about 1,000 or more people who for 20 years have been trying to protect. I am not only representing Landwatch here, I was actually at one time the executive director of Landwatch, but formerly, since Supervisor Phillips spoke, I was a county supervisor in Santa Cruz County from 1975 to 1995, 20 years. And during that time, I served on one of those regional commissions that one of the people talked about earlier in the meeting. And so I am here as you confront the substantial issue, concern, to tell you that I am quite sympathetic with the difficult problem that your commission always has, because you draw the short straw in this respect. The commission is where we decide as a state, do we really want to follow these policies in the Coastal Act in the hard cases, in the tough cases. And I didn't know this was Mary's last meeting. She often talks about the hard cases. This is a hard case, but the right decision, take substantial issue, and do what is necessary to protect water supply, agriculture, coastal visual aspects, and ESHA. And it's a tough case, but that is your job. And I, having been a local official at the county level, know how tough it is. Thank you for doing it. I appreciate it on behalf of Landwatch.
So my name is Mari Kleppel, and I oppose this project at all the different levels as it worked its way through the county process. So do I have permission to speak?
You do.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes.
Yes. So what we oppose this project through the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, etc., because of mainly the water that this subdivision would require. We residents have been educating ourselves over the last, well, since 1999, since our organization formed, because many of us, our wells have gone dry. When I grew up, our well went dry, our family's well. We had to truck in water until we had a rainy year. We had to sell off our cattle. I understand what it's like to literally turn on the tap and not have a water resource. Our family nearly went, well, I don't want to talk about their finances. It was very sad because trucking in water is very expensive. And thank goodness a few years later we got some rainy seasons. And when we moved to North Monterey County, we realized we moved into another water short area. We were originally living on the edge of Monterey County by Lomas. And since in the last 10 years, Monterey County has not approved subdivisions based on water. The general plan update has a policy for the inland section that bans subdivisions because of no water. The county has had to work with other entities to try to bring water resources to entire water systems where those communities had no water. Rancho Los Robles is no different. There is nothing, there is no mitigation, no mitigating factor that can replace the essential need for water for a community. What is going to happen when those 50 or 70 families all of a sudden have no water supply? Who is going to rescue them? Who is going to pay for the trucked in water?
My name is David Evans, and I live at the end of the Elkhorn Slough. And I was on the Land Use Advisory Committee when this project came before us some few years ago. At that meeting, there were perhaps 25 people in the audience, very unusual for our committee meeting. There was well actually there was some support for the project at that time. And it was the local preacher who, sheep for the flock. He's always ready to have more people in the area. there was nobody at that time from Las Lomas or anywhere else that was in support of the project. I just wanted to make that clear. And we recommended, we're an advisory committee, our recommendation to the supervisors at that time was to deny this project. I would also like to say that I'm very much in sympathy with the people of Las Lomas. Certainly, they are a forgotten community, and for Supervisor Phillips, I would say that this project doesn't go, and I hope it doesn't, continue to advocate for Las Lomas and make it happen at the county. Get these people the sidewalks that they need. Get them a park, you know, get them some recreational opportunities. But this project is not the way to do that. The county has to step up and provide that for its citizens. I'd also like to speak to the issue of wildlife. In North Monterey County, we really have it's just a great place to live for all of us, including the wildlife. And you know, it's been said, if you build it, they will come, and they will. And the more that happens, the less space there is for the critters that were there before us. And these homes are not going to be purchased by the local farm laborers. They're not going to be able to afford it. It's going to be a bedroom community for people who have money. They're going to come down from Silicon Valley. So a lot of the arguments in favor of this are, in my opinion, spurious. Thank you.
I've attended many meetings in regards to North Monterey County. I'm Kathy Chavez Miller. I live in Aromas. I'm a third-generation farmer, strawberry farmer along the coast, and we utilize the purple water there. There is a huge water problem in North Monterey County, Aromas, Prunedale, Las Lomas area. I'm in the Aromas, Prunedale area, which is about 5 miles from Las Lomas. We have friends since '89 that have been losing their wells up on the Oak Ridge area, and we had some help from the former supervisor to help people in that area access the water, but they were trucking in. My sister down the road, she's having a problem trying to figure out what's going on with her well. It's very expensive. Many people would like to be on city water that live in the country. Please deny the Rancho Los Robles in the Las Lomas area. Our community is a strong community, but it is limited by water. We work together as a small community in Aromas to oppose 35 homes subdivision a number of years ago. I've been living in this area off and on for 30 years, and 20 years ago we opposed the Heritage Oaks subdivision, and my neighbors, along with other support, went through all of the process, the Planning Commission, the Board of Supervisors. Finally, after 12 years, we won just 3 years ago. No water, no water. This developer had a scheme. It wasn't science. Everything that you've heard that doesn't agree with the science about overdraft is a scheme that will not work. And I hope and urge you to deny this project based on science. Thank you.
My name is Kenneth Walker. I'm a retired architect, 45 years in Monterey. I live in Las Lomas. I have submitted to the staff articles that were written on the last presentation of this project when I was on the LUAC committee in 8 and 9. Water is the issue. We are a country, a county of laws. I believe everyone should follow the laws. So these laws are very well stated. The big article being water. Water is something that has not changed over the years. So with that in mind, I feel that this project should be denied based on the law, based on the incapability of presenting water use as it would need to be. Traffic is another problem. At 6 o'clock in the morning, you can't get out on the hall because of the backup at the Los Robles flight. Sill has industrial traffic, school traffic, and if you impact the school delivery by walking down Sill, and in the wintertime that low area floods with water. So there are mitigating elements here that must be addressed from a good design standpoint. And I emphasize design standpoint. Now this includes more than the visual aesthetics that we see and the capability of presenting parks and recreation that you cannot provide without the proper walks and width of roads and so on, and then a 20-30 installation that may occur through the county. And when the developer looks at this, he must also look at that, and the staff must make their proper decision that that all be included in the design of this project. Thank you.
First, I just want to make it clear that staff is extremely supportive of the community and their desire for community amenities, and that's something that we'd like to work with them and the county on. And we think that that's important. This is an underserved community that deserves these kind of improvements. I think the important thing is we need to separate those issues from this subdivision project. The LCP requires it, and that's simply the way that we've undertaken our analysis. But that doesn't mean we're not understanding the issues out there, because we are. The second thing I'd just like to point out, the county representatives pointed out certain disagreements with the staff findings. Those aren't new disagreements. That's covered in depth in the staff report, so I won't go into that. And then the last thing I'd point out, just with respect to the substantial issue question, is that this commission has denied 3 of these subdivision projects in the last year unanimously. And so in our view, it's crystal clear that that this is a substantial issue, and we're available for questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Groom?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Commission determine that appeal number A3MCO09009 raises no substantial issue with respect to the grounds on which the appeal has been filed under Section 30603 of the Coastal Act, and I recommend a no vote.
Would you like to speak to your motion?
Just briefly, since I have been to visit this and I've talked to Supervisor Phillips at length about this project, but because I went to visit the site, I also read the Monterey County LCP, and it does clearly state that water and water is required for a project, and there is not, in my understanding, if we don't have enough water. And secondly, the subdivision for housing is the lowest priority of the LCP. And so I think that for that reason, I'm able to make this motion.
Thank you. And Commissioner Schallenberger, to your second.
No, Commissioner Byrd said it was.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Vargas.
Thank you. I want to explore a little bit this water policy issue, because I think it was somebody from the county, Swanson, that spoke earlier and said there was some kind of 50% rule. So I wonder, kind of looking through the audience to see where Mr. Swanson might be. Am I getting your name right? Yeah, would you mind coming up and addressing that a little bit and maybe follow up, because I think Mr. Bloom, based on our conversation yesterday, you also have some information on that. But please, and to kind of set this up a little bit, what we are all understanding through the staff report is that, and through the comment that we just heard, is that if there's no water available, then nothing can be built. But what I'm hearing in what I heard in your comments earlier was that there is a rule that you can build up to 50% of some kind of capacity rule Could you articulate that a little bit more?
Yeah, I can go in a little bit farther. So the LCP established 50% potential build-out of safe yield for the first phase of new development. And that number was set at 2,043 units. This project is bringing on a number of units that would bring that current total up to 1,443 units. Still 600 units remaining in the cap. That's the 50% of the first phase of potential build-out in the area. So the units it's a component of the overall analysis. There's one component that needs to be looked at as well. There's a unit cap there as well.
Okay, so, and I don't want to put you on the spot on the legal stuff, so I want to see if maybe the attorney for the applicant would mind kind of following up, because I just kind of want to understand your interpretation, or the applicant's interpretation regarding this rule and anything else on water policy, if you can kind of just give me your understanding. Because I think that's really the main issue of the day is where's this water coming from, or what exactly the policy says with regard to housing and policy and water.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner Vargas. Billy, if I may have my PowerPoint slide number 6. This is difficult to talk about at a high level without, it just sounds like, well, this is my position. But I'd like you to understand the actual policy differences they're having with the staff. So when the LUP was adopted in '87, it acknowledged the overdraft conditions were existing in the range of 8,000 to 15,000 acre feet. Currently, the overdraft is 12,100 acre feet. So it's in the range that the LCP knew it was in. At that time, the policy that's been cited by the appellants, 251, requires new development to be served by long-term water supply. And policy 4357 requires a new subdivision shall be limited and phased over time until an adequate supply of water to meet long-term needs can be assured. That's clear. So how was that dealt with? It's dealt with in policy 253A2, which establishes the safe yield limit that Mr. Swanson was just talking about. That's how the county and the commission put in place in the LCP a way to address that. So the most important thing to recognize about that policy is it authorizes the first phase of development, up to 50% of build-out, may occur prior to safe yields being established. And here's the language. Additional development beyond the first phase shall be permitted only after safe yields have been established or other supplies are available. That's the policy. And this project, of course, is under that. Now, I understand that the staff would like to extend that policy and reinterpret it. And the LCP deals with this as well. It provides that the county, next slide, Billy. The LCP provides, the regulations and the implementation plan provide that the county may reduce that build-out limit, that safe yield, if it wishes to, if it finds it necessary. And for the county to make those adjustments requires an LCP amendment. It's stated in the regulations. That amendment has not occurred. What staff is suggesting is an ad hoc amendment to bring down that safe yield on a case-by-case basis on the back of permit applicants. And this commission has done that in 2 or 3 instances. But I put it to you that it was done because staff did not talk about these policies in a way that it could be understood by the commission. And then let's go to policy 4357.
I'm sorry, sorry to interrupt.
Yes,
I just want to remind us all that we are limited in scope in this hearing. I know it's a little bit unusual with the circumstances, with the number of folks who came out, but we are only deciding whether there is substantial issue, and we will have a de novo hearing in the future. So I know there is an interest in helping to explain these issues for the public, but I'm just going to ask us to try and stick to the substantial issue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand, I appreciate that, but I think that from my perspective, the substantial issue points are specifically about allowing development without additional permanent water sources. So I'm just trying to figure out you know, where this is coming from, and that was a helpful understanding and justification. If I can maybe just kind of move this along, I wanted to see if I can ask staff their thoughts, interpretation, or on that.
And happy to keep it brief since we're in the substantial issue component of the hearing. I guess I would point you to the staff report, pages 21 and 22. The policies are all listed there. The highlighted sections, in our view, make it pretty clear what the water requirements are. And then with respect to the county's interpretations, these aren't, as I indicated before, these are not new interpretations. These are the same comments we've received from the county on the last three. So there's a whole section that begins on staff report, page 32, that walks through each of the things that Mr. Swanson was talking about and Mr. Blum was talking about, and provides the rationale for why these policies apply in the way in which we believe they apply. Again, for purposes of substantial issue, we'll keep it that brief for now.
So you don't believe that they have the ability to get to that 50% first?
Absolutely not. That is not correct in our view.
Okay. Well, if I can, I promise to be brief, but I think there was some kind of discussion about some new permanent water source coming in the form of recharge, and I don't know if the county is best to discuss that for the applicant, but if you can talk about that very quickly and briefly.
Commissioners, I received a letter from, the applicant received a letter from the Pompano Valley Water Management Agency, which I will provide to staff after this session is done. And this is a letter explaining all of the activities that are underway within the Pompano Valley Water Management District to augment water supply. I won't go into the details, but there's a lot of activity. It's extremely encouraging, and it points that water use has fallen consistently every year for 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners on the issue of substantial issue? Seeing none, there is a motion and a second. The maker of the motion is asking for a no vote. A no vote would result in a finding of substantial issue, and the applicant has indicated a desire to have a postponement, so we would schedule the de novo hearing for a future date. So, do I have any unwillingness for a unanimous no vote and a finding of substantial issue? Seeing none, we do find substantial issue.